It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Brett Lorin, the owner of Too Tall Sports Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Brandon. Thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Can you talk about how you got started in the sports podcast industry?
You know, I'm actually fairly new. Like, I've only been doing it for about 6-7 months now. I've kind of always wanted, never been afraid of the microphone, so I'm okay talking to people like this and talking about sports. I'm sure, as you know, I used to play minor league baseball for 7 years. So that's kind of how I got my start in sports. And I've just always been a huge sports fan in general. I'm really happy. I'm a SoCal, California guy. So the Lakers won the championship last night. Really excited about that. But I have a network of people that I can talk to about sports that have enough credibility that people would want to listen to. So I think I can give people that side of the game versus just your normal debates on TV and stuff.
Who did you play for in the minor league?
So I got drafted by the Seattle Mariners in 2008 out of college. I played for them for 2 years in the minors, and then the Pittsburgh Pirates for a few years, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks for a few years as well.
That's an amazing career. Can you talk about how you came up with the name Too Tall Sports?
I'm 6'7", so there's your tall part. But yeah, just because I've always had, I've always been taller than everybody else, and there's things in life that I'm just too tall for, like, sitting in small cars or airplanes or buying clothes or shoes. Like, it's tough. So I'm just too tall for a lot of stuff. So, and it kind of fits the sports mold. And I'm sure, obviously my height probably helped me get to where I am. So why not embrace it?
Who are some of the people that you've interviewed in the past?
Just a lot of my former teammates and coaches, but some big names you might know probably. Rob Gronkowski's brother, Chris Gronkowski, I had him on. He and I went to the same college for a little while before he actually tried to play baseball, believe it or not. So he and I were at University of Arizona for a couple of years, and he was a baseball and a football player. And then he just concentrated on football, played in the NFL for a little bit, and then he's got this big company called Ice Shaker. It's these like fitness bottles you put, all your protein and drinks in and stuff like that. So I had him on. It was great. He was on Shark Tank, so that was cool. Just some other big leaguers that I've had, but yeah, I'd say Chris Gronkowski is probably the biggest one.
What are some of your future plans for Too Tall Sports?
I just grow the podcast as big as I can, get bigger name guests, and just keep I'm still really early in it. Some people have been podcasting for 5, 10, 15 years. I'm still here, so just continue to take it to the next level of interviews and getting good stories on there, and hopefully join a network or have somebody sponsor me, and then I can kind of expand my brand that way.
How do you find most of your podcast people, most of your interviews that you don't know?
The ones, yeah. So the people obviously I do know, I just text them or call them and say, hey, you want to be on the show? But the ones that I don't know, lately I've been using LinkedIn, honestly. Like, I've been messaging people on LinkedIn and just seeing like, hey, I got a sports podcast. I played minor league baseball. I know how it goes. You want to come on the show with me? So mostly LinkedIn so far.
What are some more of your future plans for this podcast moving forward?
Yeah, kind of like I said, just trying to grow the brand a little bit and keeping the listeners engaged, and I guess building a bigger following. I think everybody needs a bigger following in this industry. There's a ton of podcasters out there, and it's hard. You're a needle in a haystack until someone gives you the opportunity. So, obviously the big goal, maybe be an analyst for a network somewhere, or be, maybe, I don't know if on TV, but have my own show on like Sirius XM radio or something like that. Just something where I can really grow the brand and really dive into this. Like I said, I haven't been doing it that long, so I do want to pursue it and see where it goes, because it is something that I enjoy doing.
What advice would you give upcoming future sports talk podcasts looking to get into the business?
I think the biggest advice that I've gotten in, and also just seen in general, is when you're recording, make sure after you listen to it, just think, would you want to listen to your own podcast? And if you don't, then you need to spice it up or shorten it or make it, listenable. Like don't put out stuff that isn't going to, move the needle at all. It's not like you have to be controversial, but make it interesting. If it's just you talking about your fantasy football team, no one cares, right? Bring something to the table that people can grab onto and get something from your show. So I would say if you can listen to it, then push it forward.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now with your podcast?
Hopefully all the things that I was saying earlier, just sponsored and with a network, or, growing my following, hopefully times 10 what it is right now, and just getting consistent listeners that are loyal fans of the show, and just continuing to give them good content. I think that's what everybody wants, is good content. Give me something to listen to. Give me something, remember also, and I'll say other advice you were talking about is, I think the sweet spot for a podcast, me personally, is about 45 minutes to an hour. I think to take an hour out of somebody's day you're asking a lot. Nowadays, there's just so much going on, and people, even with the pandemic, people just have other stuff to do. So if you can grab their attention for 45 minutes to an hour, I think that's the sweet spot of listening to a podcast.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find Too Tall Sports on social media?
On Twitter, it's at Too Tall Sports, TOO Tall Sports. On Instagram, it's at Too Tall Sports Podcast. You can email the show. Email me at tootallsportspodcast@gmail.com. Facebook, I have a group, same thing, Too Tall Sports Podcast. Pretty much just type that in everywhere. You can find it. Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music now. We're on YouTube too, so we're everywhere.
Thank you again, Brett, for your interview, and best of luck in your sports podcast, Too Tall Sports.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Brett, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thank you. You too.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.